Turn, pray, learn brings us to bless and rest. For this section, think about flow. We'll talk about water some. And I love the flow between these words. Turn, pray, learn, bless, rest, worship, and go is what it ends with, the most action verb, I would say. These are all verbs, but none of them are verbs of like pick yourself up by your bootstrap kind of phrases or get it together. All of them have a flow. They imply, at least if you think about them, a force. A flow means a force, and they require both us and God together. They're interesting verbs that the presiding bishop has put together for us. Turn, pray, learn, bless, rest, worship, go. And for bless and rest, we particularly will be talking about water. When I was learning priesthood, blessing was nebulous to me. I couldn't find enough energy or reason to feel like I was the one that was supposed to be blessing and offering the blessing. And maybe if I'd heard this Zephaniah passage, this Ezekiel passage, that this lesson gives us today, I will sprinkle you clean and give you a new heart. I maybe needed to hear those words. I will put my spirit within you. Bless. And it's every one of us that God puts his spirit within. And if we don't bless, if we don't let that gift flow, we stymie the Spirit's flow. The exercise that you will do is imagining yourself in the shower with a heavy stone falling away from you, a weight falling off of you, and the water coming down on you, washing you clean and baptizing you. You'll do that exercise to feel the warmth in your heart from this blessing God gives you. You will get to listen to the Vermilion River gurgle and flow, and that living water will be as important as any words that we speak possibly to you, to hear the sound of God's water flowing over those rocks down below. Just a word about blessing to distinguish it, to set it, to highlight it a bit. When I became priest, I served under Collins of Sonia, who cautioned me about something. I was talking about someone and how good they were at something, and maybe I was comparing. He cautioned me to not judge, which took me aback a minute. I thought, not judge, I'm saying how good somebody is, but he cautioned me because judging is either judging good or it's judging bad, but it's still a determination. And blessing is different somehow. Blessing is something from God, acknowledging that the Spirit is present, but it's not a judgment that we make. Discerning between blessing and judging, and when one veers to the other, are not as critical in offering the blessing. The exercises will finally ask you, how did you offer blessing? Knowing the question comes from the standpoint that you have blessed. So how was that? Think about that experience. Turning to rest. When my parents were 36, they made a radical decision to leave their jobs and move their 10-year-old son, my brother, and 7-year-old myself into closer contact with water, creeks, swimming holes. Spring water was our drinking water out of the hillside. Well, the decision was not just for water. It may have been partly to leave dry bones in the world as they had known it. There is so much packaging and promoting of life-like things that are really dry bones, that there is not living water in them, yet they have a shine or a shimmer or something about them that excites us anyway, yet there's not life in them. Our worksheet uses this passage of dry bones and this image to get us reflecting, to be able to see some of the death around us and even in us. Each of us has to make bold decisions in favor of living water over dry bones. This is very practical and it's spiritual. Be in and on and around more water. Choose what brings life. Watch for words like success or pleasure or power, all the temptations. Look past the facade to dry bones that those produce when we pursue them in and of themselves. Grace and St. Mark's have lots of swimmers. I've been inspired by Noah and Zeta, Marcia's grandkids, and Sam and Riley and Reese. And each church has adult saints, Pat and Dale, and probably many others who swim. I never thought I'd be a swimmer, but I began with their encouragement. And St. Mark's Dale has swum for 40 plus years, almost daily, and during his laps he goes through his prayer list in his mind. Like Mr. Rogers in the well-portrayed movie, It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Water is a spiritual fluid for these men that they move through. A baptismal pool. Water. Drink more of it. Be more in it. Walk more beside the still waters. That's what rest is. Restoring the water of life to our bodies. And if water or rest or anything in this section is striking a chord with you, then please look for last May's soul tending retreat here at Bellwether with Anita Amstutz. It is posted on the Grace Mansfield YouTube page, and it may be living water to you, and it may help you answer the question on page 28, how will I rest? Rest. It is a commandment, as we heard on Lent 3, March 7th. God insists on pulling slaves out of constant labor, giving rest, full, complete cessation from work. The only thing that really stops this is fear and stress. They stop, literally, the flow of living water in our bodies. We can seize up. Step 4 in our worksheet in a few minutes reminds us of Zephaniah 3:16. To recall that God has overcome fear. And the commandment not to fear, one of the most repeated commandments in all of Scripture. Every time Jesus returns after resurrection, he says, do not fear. Imagine you are surrounded by voices praising God as one of the last exercises. Hear those voices and hear them in the water that you will be listening to. And as the last thing in the exercises, Psalm 98 states, listen to how the river claps its hands.